Hey everybody, welcome to HabNormals. It is our first HabNormals, I believe, since the Olympic Games. I actually went and looked, and it was like February 2nd, the last one. So it's been a little while, but the Olympics are over, and there's lots to talk about as the deadline approaches for Friday. We're just 3 days away as we're recording this on Tuesday night. So there's that to talk about. So Alex Newhook is back. We're going to talk about that. There's a lot of rumors about Patrick Laine and where he's going to end up because he's more than likely not playing another game for the Habs. There's other trade rumors and stuff to talk about. There's some thoughts on the deadline, and if we get to it, Cole Caulfield and the pace that he's on, and maybe some final predictions for the Atlantic Division. But we're going to lead off with some Olympic gold medal talk. We're just talking about the gold medal game and nothing geopolitical, just the thoughts on the 3-on-3 for the gold. To do that, we have a special guest tonight. He's been on before, so you should know him. And if you read the hockey writers for the Montreal, Ryan Szporer, and he is a writer for the hockey writers. How you doing there, Ryan?
Good, thanks. How are you?
Very good, very good, very good. Excited as trade deadline is approaching. It's a big day. We're, by the way, if you're interested, we're going to be doing a live stream from about 11 to 4 on Friday, 11 in the morning, obviously till 4 in the afternoon. Should be 4 of us, and we'll be talking about whatever's going on, whatever trades and shit have happened. All right, so. Oh yeah, and I got my partner over there, Matt, up with the trucker hat on, up on top there. All right, how's it going, Matt?
Good, man. Glad to be here. I'm excited. I'm glad that Ryan was able to join us tonight. It's gonna be a fun show.
Yeah, good having Ryan back. It's been, you know what, Ryan, I've been meaning to have you back on numerous times, and just I don't know, things in my life, problems and everything. So I haven't. But as soon as I, got my act together, and I thought deadline time, great time to have Ryan on. And I read that Newhook article. I was impressed. I was thinking of doing something about it, but you know what? I ended up. You did a good job, like a really good job on that. There was not much I could really add, and I decided not to do the video because I didn't want to seem like I copied you, because I would have been copying a lot of what you said, So, anyways, but good article. We're going to talk about that. But let's lead off with the gold medal game. As everybody knows, sadly, Canada lost to the U.S. For the gold medal in a game that they definitely, I'd say, dominated. I mean, they smoked them in the second and third periods.
100%.
What do you guys think about that?
100%.
The way I look at it is Connor Hellebuck is a member of the U.S. team.
Yeah.
He outplayed Canada. It's a legitimate win.
Yeah, I said it. I did live stream for that, and I said it's Canada versus Hellebuck is what it was. Because, I mean, they first period, okay, but second, third period, they couldn't stop Canada going in to their zone and moving the puck around, but Hellebuck, man. Yeah. So, okay, so everybody saw that. So, and we won't get into all the other stuff that went around, but for a gold medal game, what is your opinion on having 3-on-3 for a gold medal game? In the NHL, obviously during the regular season, it's 3-on-3 overtime. But once the playoffs start, you go to 5-on-5 until someone scores. For me, I don't like 3-on-3 for that. I love 3-on-3 in the NHL during the regular season. I don't like it for big games like that.
I mean, there are points both for and against. I feel like the against is that overtime can go either way. It's more likely to go either way under circumstances like that, where the chances are just fast and furious, and you run into a situation where the perhaps more deserving team, loses on a single chance. And, theoretically that's what happened. But again, like I said, Connor Hellebuck was a member of the U.S. team. So, I honestly have no issue with the way things turned out, other than the fact that Canada lost, which for geopolitical reasons, which we're not going to get into. I'm pissed
Yeah.
off about. But
Yes.
yeah,
Sorry, guys.
Yeah, Matt understandably was happy about it. But and listen, it's not sour grapes because I'll be the first to admit that Canada kind of beat themselves. I mean, as much as Hellebuck was great, right? But they had opportunity after opportunity, the 5-on-3 overtime. Like they should have won.
I mean,
this
the empty
game
net.
without it being
Like-
without it being anything. They should have won this game. So it's kind of on them. And it's not sour grapes because like I said, I had said it before the overtime that I didn't really like this situation for it, but it is what it is. They were under the same rules as the other team. So, Matt, give us your opinion.
Well, yeah, no, I am with you though. I do think for a gold medal, really either of the medal games, but especially for gold, I think it should be 5-on-5 continuous. Because I know like whatever, it's weird. The IIHF is like the only time where like games like that are decided in 3-on-3 overtime. Like you said, obviously in the NHL and the playoffs, it's continuous 5-on-5. It's the same thing in college hockey. In the conference tournaments and in the NCAA tournament, it's 5-on-5.
Yeah,
Continuous overtime. So I don't know. I don't think a gold medal game should go to 3-on-3. I think it should be settled 5-on-5, like the way you play the sport. And yeah, I mean, I don't want to say it takes away from the excitement because obviously 3-on-3 is very exciting, but I just feel like with 3-on-3, like all it takes is an odd man rush.
that's it.
It's really who can get the first odd man rush. And I just think for a game of that magnitude, I don't think it should come down to something like that.
I mean, 3-on-3 is puck control. I mean, if you can control the puck, the longer you can, the better your chances. Or it's going to be chance for chance. And that's what I said. But anyways, it is what it is. And that was where the rules. It just, I thought, just to see because a lot of people are still kind of talking about it. So I just thought we'd get our opinion out since we didn't get to do this a little earlier. Anyways, enough on that. And on to the next Olympics in 4 years when I'm going to be 67. The next time I get to see Olympic men's hockey. So I'm not, I don't know. I'm trepidatious, I'll say. All right, let's move on to the next topic. Alex Newhook. He returned to action. I should have wrote returned after 3.5 months. I think it was 3.5 months of he was out. Right, it was right around there. Okay, so I hate that one all the time because we have a new guy, Adam, on the Predators podcast. This guy does not and ah. I've never seen that. He doesn't and ah. Ryan doesn't too much either. But anyway, and I do it all the time. All right. Ryan wrote an article about a week and a half ago on the Hockey Writers website. And it was about that because Alex Newhook hadn't returned yet. So he was speculating about where would Newhook play. I don't remember exactly where you had him. I think you just went over like the possibilities, if I'm correct. Where did you sort of land on where you thought he would end up?
I had him where he ended up playing last game. So on third line, opposite Zachary Bolduc, with Evans as the center.
And that was a good line. That was the second best line. They had good numbers, good metrics, and everything. That was a good line.
Yeah, I think, Bolduc has been producing, at least from an assist perspective, recently. And I feel like putting Newhook on that line is an opportunity to maybe tap into some more of his offensive potential because he's been effectively relegated to, Bolduc has effectively been relegated to a bottom six role.
Yeah.
For the longest time, and I think he has more to give offensively, as the early season would indicate. So Newhook has speed and offensive capability, finishing capability. So I think that's a good place for him. Yeah,
I hadn't really thought too much about it, but I didn't think he'd crack the top six on his return because I didn't see. Playing him on the wing with Suzuki and Caulfield didn't make sense. And Doc's really doing well there. So, line two had been, I guess, since not so much since the break. Slav has to sort of stop doing everything by himself. Hopefully tonight, that'll work out. But I didn't think he'd slot in with anybody on the top six. So I figured he's not going to be a fourth line guy. I wasn't surprised his first game back that they slotted him there. First game back after 3.5 months. It seems like everybody sort of gets put back there, and they work their way up in a game or two. But I mean, it made sense on the third line for me. And then adding Bolduc with him, I thought Bolduc was pretty good. Well, that line was good, but Bolduc stood out, was noticeable in the game, and I just thought, that's the right place. Matt, what did you think to start with? I have a feeling we're all going to end up being that's where we thought he was going to be.
I mean, for a little bit, I really wasn't sure because I didn't know what they wanted to do with the first line. Like, I mean, I think we can all agree that, like, on his day, I think Newhook is a top six player. I do. But I also thought that it made a lot of sense to kind of, start him in the bottom six coming back just to get his feet back under him. Obviously, with the broken ankle, kind of want to get him up to speed a little bit. But, I think both games he was back. I thought he looked really good. He was active. Obviously got the 2 assists. So he's still producing, exactly kind of where he left off. But, I don't know. I mean, I think really with how well Doc's playing on the top line, I don't really see him moving up there anytime soon. But I think, especially for the time being, again, to kind of get him really back into game shape. Yeah, I think he's fine on the third line. I don't really have any issues there.
I wouldn't.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I personally wouldn't mind if they put Slavkovsky back on the top line with Caulfield and Suzuki and gave Doc another shot at center on the second line with Demidov. At which point I would prefer to see Newhook complement that duo as the third man.
I think it makes a lot of sense too, especially with Newhook's speed. Like I feel like if he and Demidov can get really good chemistry, I mean that could be a really, really productive duo right there.
I forget whose article I was reading, but I read an article basically talking about that, putting him back, and seeing how that works out because I forget the reasoning, but I don't mind that so much as long as you've got that second line going because, it had been going up until the break. And I think, it'll get its legs again. And I don't mind having a third line that has, an offense, three lines that can score. So I don't mind having that option. So, I mean, I don't know. And I don't know if I want to really touch something on the second line that's not really broken. Kind of how I'm thinking. And Doc is playing well with Suzuki and Caulfield.
Yeah, but I think anyone would play well with Suzuki and Caulfield. I mean,
no. I mean, they tried Bolduc there; it didn't really work.
That's true, but no offense to Alexander Texier, but I don't see
that was
him.
Temporary. You knew that was temporary.
It was temporary, but you can't deny that he produced.
He did.
Really well.
He did.
So yeah, I feel like I'm happy with the production of the second line. Slavkovsky, Kapanen, and Demidov up to this point. But I also feel like that was only put together as a result of the injuries. And now that everyone's healthy, except for a point at which in, training camp when they experimented with Demidov, with Doc and Line, that didn't work. That was a stupid idea. But start of the season, I believe it was Newhook and Doc and Demidov up until the point at which Doc got injured, then Kapanen slotted in. So that was, in effect, the idea that they had initially gone with for
Very
all
true
purposes. And now that you have that ability, I think you owe it to Demidov and his development to put him with more, all due respect to Kapanen, forward with more offensive potential, which is what I see Doc as. And I know that might be deemed controversial based on Doc's inconsistent production and injury history up to this point. But if you're confident in how he's returned to action up until this point, I think it might make sense to give that a go.
Yeah, no, listen, no matter what I said, I don't disagree because, like you said, this is where they were going to go at the beginning of the year. It's only injuries that did cause the changes. And it does make sense to go back to, the original plan. Do you think they're going to do that
No.
soon? You don't think so? Why
Yep.
don't you think?
Because based on what I've seen, Martin St. Louis is a creature of habit, and if it ain't broke, don't try and fix it. And if you're winning, which the Canadians are, you're not going to change the lines drastically, and that would represent a drastic change.
That is true. Okay, so say they struggle a little bit now, especially at a time when you can't struggle. Points are, you can't give up a point that you should get at this point because everybody else around you is winning. So do you think that, say they go on a 2-game losing streak, he doesn't change lines?
It depends on how they play in those games. For example,
Very true.
If Montembeault, I don't want to throw him under the bus, but let's say if Montembeault has a few shaky starts and, they keep going back to him and, he's the reason for those losses, I don't think you necessarily change anything. An interesting stat on the telecast, last game, it must have been Sportsnet, CBC, whatever. The Canadians are one of 2 teams with a single. They've only lost 3 games, like once.
Yeah, I heard that. Yeah,
they only had the bad losing streak. Was it in November? But since then, and it's funny because I looked at their past games the other day. But yeah, since then it was like they'll win 2 or 3 in a row. They might lose 1, win another 2, or they might lose 2 in a row, but then they'll, rip off 3 wins, something like that. Yeah, they've been really good in that retrospect. They haven't really kind of fallen into one of those
points. They've been good at pulling points from games.
I mean, say what you want about whether or not they deserve those victories, but I think for all intents and purposes, the team has been fairly consistent, and they have this identity where they're a high-scoring team.
Yep.
You can't necessarily count on the goaltending.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Which to me is the most glaring hole entering the playoffs.
Yes.
Knock on wood, because I don't want to jinx them because they theoretically can still miss them. But I'd say that St. Louis, I don't believe that the Canadians are going. They have a fairly easy schedule the rest of the way compared to the teams that they're up against in the Atlantic Division. I don't necessarily see them going on an extended losing streak beyond 2 games. It could be wrong. A lot can change. So I don't see St. Louis changing that second line.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess unless he has to, right? So you mentioned Monty. We gotta, I guess, ask the question. Anybody think there's a chance that Habs do something in the trade deadline for a goaltender?
No.
Yeah, kind of think that too. So what do you think of these rumors for Binnington?
Can I swear on this podcast?
Yes, you can.
I think they're horseshit.
I wouldn't even call that swearing, but yeah, I kind of think so too. I don't see Hughes making a move like that. I just don't.
It would be a lateral move at best for, and I've written about this recently. It would be a lateral move at best for a higher cap hit. I just don't see the benefit unless you're subscribing to recency bias, where you think that Binnington is suddenly going to become the player he was at the Four Nations face-off and at the Olympics, playing behind the
Thank you, Ryan.
Well, I mean, it's it's fairly obvious that Montembeault, like you just need to look at the stats. Montembeault, for all of his faults, has been playing better than Binnington. And I don't understand the logic. Why would the Blues give up Binnington if there's so much faith in the guy when he has another year under contract? Like if he's this huge big game goalie, if you're the Blues, if you're Doug Armstrong, are you effectively forfeiting any shot you have at winning the cup next year because you're sacrificing Binnington now? Like,
well, if they trade Robert Thomas, they are giving up that.
I'm just saying that Binnington at one point in time, when he led the Blues to the Stanley Cup in 2019, and maybe I think it was 2022 when he got injured in the playoffs. He had been playing well up until that point. Like those two playoff runs, he's been great, but the rest of his career, he's been mediocre at best. And I don't know why the Canadians would give up assets for that kind of track record, because that's what's floating around the internet, that it would be Montembeault and like a mid-round draft pick for the privilege of having Binnington dress up in a Canadiens uniform. I just don't see it.
Yeah, no, I don't really either. Anyways, Matt, you're nothing to add to it?
Well, no, I was gonna say like what. So I said thank you, Ryan, for bringing that up, because Cam and I actually in our group chat got in a debate about it the other day, and I referenced exactly what Ryan said. Like, yeah, Binnington great in the Four Nations, great in the Olympics, but you look at the rest of his numbers, they're worse than Montembeault's. So it's like, all right, even if you do trade for him, I wouldn't start Binnington over Dobish. Not right now. Not with. Just look at their numbers. You know what I mean? Like, so for me, I just don't think it makes sense.
But if why trade for him then if you're not doing that? If
That's
you're
what
not
I'm saying. That's why I don't think they trade for him.
No, I don't think they do either. I don't even know where that rumor came from. They probably haven't even inquired about him at all, and it's just some stupid rumor that got out there.
I do know the Blues want to move him out. That kind of came
out
today.
I realized that.
Are we going to be on the move? Where? Who the hell knows?
The only reason Binnington rumors are there for Montreal is because of how Monty's playing.
I think the rumor started as a result of his play at the Olympics, because if you're Armstrong and you want to move out that contract, which is logical, you want to do it now when his stock is as high as it is.
Yeah, no, there were Binnington rumors before that. At least we had been talking about it a little bit, and I'd seen some stuff, but I never took that seriously anyway. All right, anyway, it doesn't really matter. But let's talk a little bit more about rumors, because I know you had another article about this guy, and I know that I'm not sure if you're still the same, because this was a little bit longer ago, but Patrick Laine, and you are of the mind, an unpopular opinion of that they should probably hang on to him, if I'm correct. In the article, you may have changed your mind since then. I don't know, but
I'm of the opinion that players can fall out of the top 6 due to injury, and you're gonna want a player with his skill set as a fallback if something goes awry. Now, I do believe the lineup as it is right now, there's no room for Laine, but I'm not sure there's any room to add anyone else by trade unless, bodies are being moved out. So I'm okay personally with the status quo past the trade deadline, where you have Laine as the 13th forward, and I don't know what his timeline to return to action is. I hesitate to speculate that the Canadiens are just holding him out of action because they just don't want him playing for one reason or another.
Yeah, because isn't he in practice in a regular jersey?
He's been practicing in a regular jersey
a couple
for
of weeks now.
I don't want to speculate, but I believe that to be the case.
Yeah,
I'm just saying, like, I think that God forbid something happens to Cole Caulfield.
You shut your mouth.
You gotta say no and knock wood, and it's not gonna happen. Do all that.
Happy, like I'm just saying, like he represents a viable alternative on the power play.
On the power play only, though, you can't say that any other part of his game is like a viable alternative to almost anyone. It's the power play. He's strictly like a one-trick pony right now. That's the thing.
Yeah, but what a trick.
I agree. But don't you find them that maybe that teams might be starting to be able to key on that and know that that's coming, because it's so obvious that that's what's coming. He has had the shot that gets away with it. That's all. That's the only question mark. Is that shot still going to be there? Like, I don't know.
I look at all the weapons that the Canadians have on the power play, and I think if you're an opposing team, you have to respect every one of them. So I don't really see it as an issue.
Yeah, no, I get your point. Like if you key on line 8, well, that over there it's open, or over, yeah.
I do agree though that he is a liability at 5-on-5. Like I can't dispute that.
I saw somewhere, I was a writer, I think, saying that he was the worst 5-on-5 player in the league.
Yeah, that was today or yesterday.
Today, I saw it today.
I don't want to name name. I know who it is. I don't want to.
Okay, no, you don't have to say name. I saw that out there not too long ago.
Like that analyst, like he's incredibly well respected, and I do respect his opinion. I think he's kind of been thrown under the bus a little bit. Now I'm the first to defend Line. Like I think he's been victimized himself by the media as a scapegoat for whatever reason. All he's done is help lead the Canadians to the playoffs with a team leading 15 power play goals in like 52 games or whatever it is he played last year. Like without him, you don't make the playoffs. And, you know, with him in the lineup, you were playing 6-21 hockey. Like he's not a cancer by any stretch of the imagination. Whatever it is, some, members of the media want to think up for the sake of coming up with a news story. I think that this analyst in particular today, he's well within his rights to express his opinion and back them up with stats. I think Laine is the worst player at 5-on-5. No, I don't think he's particularly good. And I think if you limit his minutes on the 4th minute and shelter him, as you would any fourth liner, really, like, I think it's worth the price of admission to have an extra weapon on the power play. If it comes to that, like where, someone in the top 6 gets injured.
I'll tell you this, if the NHL had the same roster rules that they do in the Olympics, where you can have 13 forwards and that guy can play when needed, that'd be the perfect spot for Laine.
But you can't. So
yeah, but you can't. It's too bad. Because then if that were the case, I'd say, yeah, you keep that guy for the power play, right? You keep him, whatever. So yeah, unfortunately, yeah.
The designated power play specialist.
Yeah, and it's too bad you can't carry that. That's the problem. What do you think, Matt, for Laine situation? What's your opinion?
Well, I mean, I can tell you from everything that I've learned, especially today, but the past few days, I do think he's dealt by the deadline. I know the Kings have circled back on him, so I do think he's played his last game in Montreal. Now, Ryan, to your point, though, I do agree. Like, it wouldn't be bad to have him as an extra option. God forbid somebody got hurt. But I think at the same time, like, I just don't see where he'll get game time in, because they're down the stretch here where they can't afford to be dropping points, like Rick said. And I know it doesn't take a genius to know he's a liability on 5-on-5. Like, he can't play defense. And like, do you risk, even though, yeah, maybe you shelter him with 4th line minutes, but at the same time, though, those minutes, like, again, I don't know what that would even look like.
Especially when you don't have last change.
Right.
And you can get caught.
I just don't know. Like, I agree that there isn't like a perfect solution here. Like, but it's also, we're looking at a Canadians roster right now that is healthy. and fairly complete top to bottom. I just don't see. I mean, don't get me wrong, there are holes, especially in net. I don't see what benefit there is to trading Line this year when his contract is expiring. Unless, like, if you're Kent Hughes, you have a huge deal waiting in the
And
wings.
you need money. Yeah.
Well, and
you might
that's,
need cap
I mean,
space.
again, rumors are rumors, but my guess is he's probably got something up his sleeve because he's not the type of GM to move out even a depth piece like that and not have a plan in place to, to have an extra body there. So, I mean, especially with and we'll get into this in a few minutes, but like, especially with what's going on with Robert Thomas, like, who knows? Like,
He's available? What?
You didn't know? All right, before we get into that, and we will in a second, I just want to run a little merch video. So this is some stuff that's available at the merch store. The address is in that, see that QR code in the corner there? That'll get you there, and just short little video to show you some of the products like Matt's wearing, like I'm wearing. Yeah, here we go. It won't take long. Boom. That's it. So that's some of the stuff that's available there at the store. And if you do go there, just give me a second because I misplaced where I put it. I think I deleted it. There it is. You go there. March promotion is 10% off any 2 items. The code is 1042. 10, the number FORTWO at that address down there, but the QR code is the same. So that's 10% off any 2 items. All right. Let's move on to let's see what else. I'm having good about bringing up these things here. Let's get right into this. Buffalo is the front runner to acquire Robert Thomas right now as we speak. That's from Robert Thomas, the center from the Blues. Should GM Kent Hughes consider moving Michael Hage to get the job done to acquire him? Because apparently, like, that's what St. Louis wants in return. One of the players they want in return. Ryan, I know Matt and I were just talking about it, so let's hear what you got, your opinion on that.
Jeez. I think that if the opportunity presents itself to give up a prospect like Michael Hage for a proven top-line center in Robert Thomas, it depends on what the rest of the deal would be, because obviously it would take more. But I'm of the belief that, generally speaking, that's a move you make if you're Kent Hughes, or it's a move you should make if you're Kent Hughes, because you're looking at a 26-year-old in his prime.
I mean, that cap hit too. Like for me, it just feels like everything about Robert Thomas is like it's almost perfect, right? Like, because he's just entering his prime. He's got a very, very good cap hit for the next 5 or 6 years.
5.
And he's a top center. Like, I think it's it's even before the Sabres became a front runner. I was back and forth on it, but like, now that we know that the Sabres are the front runners right now, it almost just really makes you really need to think about it, right? Like, I don't envy Ken Hughes and Jeff Gorton right now, because I mean, they got to be really kind of going back and forth, or at least I don't know. No, I would think they might be going back and forth on this, because now you got to think about, well, if he goes to the Sabres, like, we're probably going to end up playing them in the playoffs. At least in theory. Like, do you let that happen?
Well, okay, let me put it to you this way. I do not believe that this is the year that the Canadians contend for the Stanley Cup, regardless of how this trade deadline goes.
I agree.
The goaltending is far too shaky for Kent Hughes to devote assets to a cup run this year. That having been said, Thomas is the type of player that it would become an instant part of the core moving forward. And I think he's someone that, he would stick around for the long haul, and he would be part of the team for its theoretical actual window of contention.
Yeah, you're saying beyond the 5 years, he'd probably resign. I would agree with that. Yeah,
Even if
I think that what we were trying to get to is like it kind of in our minds, kind of like it forces the hand almost for Montreal. Can you let Buffalo acquire this player when you can acquire this player and not only keep him from that team who's now going to be your main rival in this division probably for the next 10 years after doing that? You almost have to. If you can do it, you almost have to. And instead of being like, yeah, well, Hage, this and whatever, it changes the priority, I think, on that. Because yesterday we were talking about it on the NHL pod, and I was of the thing, no, we don't make this move if Hage is involved. You add Buffalo to this equation, and if they're like they're going to get him, and you can change that, you almost have to.
I agree. I obviously don't want to lose Hage. I'd written.
Right. I don't think anybody does, right? But again, like they're at this impasse where, like, yeah, I mean, it almost sort of forces the hand a little bit because.
But let me play devil's advocate a bit here. Like we don't know who else would be involved going the other way in this
100%
scenario. So we could, it's all fine and good to say yes, trade Hage, but what if Gouli is part of the deal?
I kind of think of Hage.
I agree with that. I don't want to give. I know a lot of people, and again, Twitter's Twitter, but a lot of people have seemed to be okay with giving up Gouli. I'm not. I really like Gouli a lot. I think he's part of this defensive core going forward. I know he's had his injury problems, but when we've seen when he's healthy, he's on the ice. He's one of our best defenders. He's not someone that I really want to give up.
I don't think it's Gouli though. I think it's Reinbacher that would go.
Well,
I don't know who the roster player that would go with, but I don't think
we have
it's
to
Gouli.
be Kapanen, right?
Kapanen, I've heard Kapanen. Yeah.
What have you heard?
Kapanen would go the other way. It would be like Hage, Kapanen, Reinbacher.
It would be those three.
Well, those three, it's a rumor. It's a rumor. I don't know the validity of where it is.
I'd gotten, I'd written a piece when maybe a few weeks ago where Thomas came up as like an ideal trade target, and this was before like the last few days came to be, and his name, there was a lot more smoke in the air regarding his name, and I had in the comment section I had been talking with a reader, and what I had proposed as like the ideal or what made the most sense semi-realistically was Kapanen, Reinbacher, a first-round pick, and maybe another piece. And I think, like, obviously, you're getting into kind of an arms race with Buffalo. But in my mind, that made sense because Kapanen at the time had been leading all rookies in goal scoring. Whether or not that's a byproduct of him playing with Demidov, which I believe it is, he still has all those goals, and he might be perceived as incredibly valuable on the trade market. Reinbacher is a 5th overall pick. In my opinion, there are too many questions regarding whether or not he pans out at this point. He's fairly expendable. First round pick is a first round pick. That makes sense. If Thomas would effectively replace Kapanen in the lineup, in my opinion, and be a massive upgrade in the process. Yeah. If you make that trade, you're effectively, you're subtracting Kapanen, but because Thomas is coming in, I don't really see it as you subtracting from your lineup you're only
No, I think you see it as kind of adding.
Yeah,
I
you're
think Thomas is
upgrading
the guy.
major.
Like I agree. I think Kapanen
Big upgrade.
and I like Kapanen, but I agree. I think having Demidov and Slavkovsky on that line have kind of artificially kind of boosted his numbers a little bit, if that makes sense. Like I think because I agree. I think Kapanen was on say the third line, or he was on a line where he was supposed to be kind of driving the play. I don't necessarily see him as that type of player, but Robert Thomas is that type of player. So
yeah. And I think in a previous podcast we had talked about how heading into the season, like you want a legitimate center for Demidov.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Thomas is as legitimate a center as you can get.
Oh my God, yeah.
He wouldn't like a player of that caliber under these circumstances isn't available under normal circumstances.
No.
Like this is extraordinarily abnormal.
It's almost like a generational player. A center of that caliber doesn't become available like this about as often as a generational player comes along.
I wouldn't use the term generational, but I see him as like the Ford equivalent of Dobson.
No, I'm not saying he's generational. I'm saying a generational player comes along every so often. An opportunity like this to get a center like this at the money and everything, it doesn't come along very often, man. That's like, rare.
I said it on the other pod. Like you could I think you could count on one hand the amount of times that a center like this has come up in like the last 20 years, right? Like the last I can remember was Jack Eichel, and we all knew he was leaving Buffalo because they just didn't like each other. But before that, I can't really think of one.
Doesn't happen often. Anyways, we're gonna find out soon because they don't have much time. So I'm just hoping I don't wake up tomorrow morning and hear Buffalo made the deal. That's all. At least if we don't get him, but don't let Buffalo get him.
I mean, I don't know how much the Canadians have to say about.
No, they don't. Obviously, The only way they have something to say about it is by throwing in something extra to get them themselves. It's the only way. All right, but anyways, that's something to watch for because something like that could happen anytime. You got to think if they go, okay, well, we'll take your offer. You jump on that, you take it. You don't go, oh, okay, we'll get back to you tomorrow because Buffalo's gonna. Anyway, we'll see what happens with it. All right, let's give some thoughts. What are the Habs' needs at the deadline? Because we haven't really touched on that yet. And any general thoughts about any of the teams, any big deals you might think are going to happen, anything like that. Ryan, you're the guest. You go first. Put the pressure on you.
I'm just echoing what the general sentiment here. I do believe Laine will be traded. I don't necessarily believe he should be, but I believe it's going to happen. As far as needs go, like goaltending, but again, I don't see Kent Hughes acquiring a goalie just to get in the way of Jacob Fowler. So
that's a good point.
I think you make a great point.
Yeah, because you can't. And if you acquire Binnington, he kind of does get in the way a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean,
he's got a little term left.
Well, it's the same. No, it's like the same situation with Montemo. There's like 1 year left.
That's true. Now that is true.
But I like, let's say Binnington isn't the guy that Kent Hughes goes after in this fantasy world I've concocted.
Like Wallstedt,
he could theoretically go after.
Well, Wallstedt's apparently available. I know it's going to be a high price, but say that because he's young, like Fowler is.
I think if Wallstedt is the goalie that the Canadians again hypothetically acquire, if they go that route, I imagine the Wild would want Fowler in return. So
yeah, that's true.
That would be a non-starter.
Yeah, that'd be a non-starter, absolutely.
But let's say it's a goalie, an established goalie with term. Like I don't know how you could justify that if you're Hughes.
No, I don't think you can. And I think again, it's kind of common knowledge, but I mean, Fowler is going to be the guy when he's ready. I think, it's pretty consensus that, that is going to be the case. And, I agree. I don't see a reason to try because I also think Dobesh is, establishes himself as, at least now for the rest of this season, as a starting goalie. I don't think that's a question.
You'd like to think so. But I think
Right. No, I understand. But look at his record, though.
I'm with you 100%. I'm just saying that there is a great deal of love for Montembeault in the Canadiens organization.
No, I get it, and I understand that, but
listen,
you got to look at the on-ice product, right?
If Monty can get back to his form of last year, it's well worth it. But can he? That's the problem, right? Can he?
How many chances has he been given?
I know, and I love Monty. I do, I really do, and I wanted to, and I don't know. I don't know if he will. I don't know if he will.
I think that you need to go with Dobesh, who is basically giving you average goaltending. Maybe slightly below, but average goaltending.
That's winning, though. He's winning games.
That's my point. He's winning.
Yeah, he's winning.
With the team in front of him,
Montembeault isn't winning. Dobesh is. And I do believe that there should be pause giving Dobesh too many starts in a row because of potential.
He shows that it's a problem, yeah.
But you don't make Montembeault your number one at this point.
No,
you give the role to Dobesh and make Montembeault the backup. That's the only way that the Canadiens can gain ground in the standings.
Yeah. Well, Dobesh is starting tonight, so I don't know if that means. I mean, he played really well last game, so he deserves to start, and it might just mean that.
I mean, even before the break, for a little bit, Dobesh was starting like 3 or 4 in a row. Monty would get a game, and then Dobesh would get another.
It's what they need to do.
It's what happened. Montembeault screwed the pooch against the Bruins in late January.
That was bad.
That led to Dobesh getting 4 starts in a row, during which he went 3-0-1. And that left one game before the break against the Winnipeg Jets, which the Canadiens gave to Montembeault. And it was a game in which he effectively put together his best performance of the season. And on the strength of that one game, in my opinion, based on all the evidence that we have at our disposal, the Canadiens decided, Montembeault's got his game back against a non-playoff team in the Jets. And they felt, okay, after the break, we can go back to him. That's why he got the start. I don't have any insider information. This is just what the optics are.
I agree. I thought they would go with Dobesh that first game. I was surprised it was Monty. I had penned Dobesh in. That's how confident I was he was going to get it.
And then he gave up another late lead. I'm not saying the team in front of him was blameless, but that is a recurring trend.
Yeah.
And I think the Canadiens, hopefully this is the start of them having finally woken up to that.
Yeah.
They can't keep living in the past where Montembeault is, a solid goalie.
No, it's crunch time now anyways, right? If your goal is to make the playoffs, even though we're not going to win the cup, but your goal is to make the playoffs, and it is. It's crunch time now. You got to go with the guy that's winning. You got to.
100%. No, look, with how good, offensively this team is, I think, again, that's also a big part why Dobesh wins a lot. Because I think you're right, Ryan. I think he's right around league average, but, with the way that the Canadiens score goals, it's really all you need.
Yeah, that's right.
That's for the most part, obviously, every now and then, you'd like a, maybe an all-world save or something like that, or whatever. But at the same time, if they're just getting average goaltending,
let me put it this way: the Edmonton Oilers and Ottawa Senators would kill for a Jakub Dobesh right now.
100%, 100%
for sure. But you're right about Ottawa too. Yeah, yeah.
It kills me too sometimes because I think about imagine if Price had this team in front of him. Oh my God.
I mean, the cat wouldn't really work, but
but I mean, sometimes I just think about that, and I'm like, oh my God, if he had this team in front of him, we would have been unstoppable.
Let me just say this: that I believe this is the way that the team should be constructed.
I agree.
Without an albatross of a contract in net.
Yeah.
100%.
And I'm very excited about the future I just don't believe fans should get needlessly excited about what's going to happen at the trade deadline and what's going to happen during the playoffs. I think they should resign themselves to hopefully an improvement over last year with a second round appearance, but I don't see the specific incarnation of the team going beyond that. I think next year is when they start making a lot of noise.
Yeah, it's too bad kind of that this Robert Thomas thing, it didn't come up like next year, because then, you got to be all
or
over
like in
that.
the off season, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
this would be a perfect, kind of like what they did with Dobson, right? Like sometime around the draft would be would have been a perfect time to make that deal.
Anyway, it's too bad.
Sounds like if it's going to happen, it's going to have to happen within the next few days.
But yeah, we'll see what happens in the next few days with that. But anyway, for me, if they decide to do it or they decide not to, I'm good either way. I trust in the management of this team in Kent Hughes. Their vision has been spot on, and they've accomplished it so far. Like you said, this team is built right. And so if they pull the trigger, I'm going to be behind it. And if they don't, yeah, I'm going to be behind their decision there too, for me. Can't argue with that. All right, we have a little bit of time. Let's quickly, let me get to it here. Where is it? I guess I didn't put up there. Hang on, I'm first product. I guess maybe this was it. Okay, yeah, final. So before we do any Atlantic predictions, can Cole Caulfield reach 50 goals? Because he's on pace right now for 49, and that's after 59 games. What do you guys think? We will go to Ryan first.
I mean, I've written about it in passing as a possibility, but I don't believe he'll get to it, and I don't think Canadians fans should care. He's going to get to 40, God willing. He's pretty much almost there, and that'd be enough for Canadians fans to have their first 40-goal scorer since 1994 Vincent D'Anfous.
I think it will be. I really do. I'm only asking the question, not because, he's got to get to 50. I didn't think his pace was there. I did something the other day, and I had him at 45. And then I checked on his pace, and he was at 49 on pace for that. So I thought, it's worth asking the question and giving an opinion on whether he will. But I agree with what you said. It doesn't matter because he more, knock wood, nothing happens to him that he doesn't hit 40. He needs 5 in 23 games. But I personally think he'll hit. I think he might hit 45, which would be awesome. I think that's amazingly. I'm using the same word. It's awesome. It's awesome that we finally have a 40-goal scorer again. And
not yet. We don't have it yet.
No, that knockwood we will. Knockwood we will. That we should be so lucky to get to a 40-goal scorer again, and and that Cole Caulfield is reaching his potential, because for a few years people going, he's never gonna get that. I'm glad to see him finally reaching it. So that's my opinion. Matt?
Yeah, I mean, will he hit 50 this season? Probably not. Will he hit it in his career? I mean, I think so. I think. As long as he's healthy, he'll hit 40 this year. Which, Ryan, I agree. Like, I don't think Canadians fans should, put the pressure on him to hit 50. I think 40 is. I'm more than happy with that.
Some will. Some will put the pressure, but I think
he's 24 years old. He'll hit 40.
Yeah, no. Most will be very happy that he hit 40. Right. I think most will be very happy. There won't be any. There's always going to be the idiots.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
right.
But I think again, right, for him being only 24, I think this is really just a start of really what he's fully capable. Like I said, I think he'll definitely hit 50 at some point. I think he's on that path right now.
Yeah.
And again, I think just hitting 40 alone would be. I mean, again, I'd be very over the moon with that. And I think after that, like the sky's, like I said, throughout his career, the sky's the limit. I think he's proven to be an elite goal scorer in this league, and obviously a top goal scorer in this league. I think he's tied for third right now.
He's tied for second. He's tied for second.
With Matt Boldy, I believe.
Boldy and like somebody else. I can't remember.
McDavid. Funny
McDavid.
enough.
Yeah,
Yeah, Boldy and McDavid.
Yeah,
Which is
and
kind of crazy.
It's McKinnon, I think, that's got 40 and leading, right? Yeah, it's McKinnon. Anyway, he's proven that he's an elite goal scorer. So he's lived up. He's starting to reach his potential, which is nice to see, you know. And also, you know what I like to see with him? He puts up points, not just goals. He's going to be a point per game. Like if he keeps it up, he's going to be a point per game, slightly over point per game player. That's not something I really thought of Caulfield. So I think that's really like bonus that he's also rounded out his game. That he puts up the numbers.
He's not that bad in his own end either. I think he's got a pretty underrated two-way game too.
Yeah, he's a well-rounded little hockey player, man. There's a lot to like there with Cole Caulfield. All right, I guess finally before we go, how do you guys think the Atlantic's going to shake out? You don't have to go through top to bottom, but what 4 teams do you think are going to make the playoffs?
1 out of 5.
I was gonna say
5. No, it could be 5. Yeah, no, and it might be too because Atlantic Division is the best division right now.
I at the Hockey Writers in the season preview video that I did with a colleague of mine, I went on record like it was they asked me for a hot take, and I said heading into the season that I believe that the Canadians would have home ice advantage in the first round. So I'll repeat that and stick to my guns and say that the Canadians will finish second in the division.
I can top you because my hot take was they would win the division. But you know what I did say? I said realistically, though, I think second or third. So it's not going to shock me if they're second. And I'm hoping that is where they do end up. And yeah, I didn't make a prediction, though, that for sure they would have home ice. But yeah, second or third, I'll go that because, the way it's so up and down, with it's so tight, the race. But yeah, I don't think they'll beat the Lightning out for first. Doesn't look like any of the teams will right now. But yeah, Matt.
No, I think at the beginning of the season, I thought third was well within reach, and I thought second was a possibility. And I again based that off of kind of what we saw at the end of last year and kind of the progress they made and the additions that they made over the offseason. Obviously, bringing in a guy like Noah Dobson, I think for me, put third in the division kind of well within grasp. Adding another an elite offensive defenseman like that, to go along with obviously a player like Lane Hudson. I think definitely moved the needle, and they're showing it. This season they're in I think the first wild card spot now, but it's like a point separating them in second. So I think down the stretch it's going to be close, but I can certainly see him finishing second or third.
I've got a bonus question for Ryan. Before the season, like you said, you made some predictions. I do these kind of predictions. So I did lineup prediction. I had Dobson and Hudson playing together. One of not too many people had that, and I got a lot of people going, yeah, that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. So it turns out for the defensemen that are here, Dobson is his best partner statistically and all that. How did you think that would have been a good pairing?
No, I think you want to give each of those players the best chance to play their respective games, and that is with an offensive mindset. And if you put them together, you're forcing one of them to stay behind, and I don't agree with that.
Yeah, but you're not really, because if you look at their production, it's still there. Anyways, by the metrics and everything, Dobson is his best partner.
How many minutes have they played together?
Significant enough. Like some of the other ones, they didn't play a lot together, but it's significant enough that you got to look at that and say that that means something. I don't know the exact number of minutes, but it's significant enough.
I mean, if you're Martin St. Louis and you're facing 1 or 2 goal deficit in the third period of a game heading down the stretch of the season, why not put them together to see what they can produce? But I think generally speaking, I personally wouldn't do it.
Okay, I know. I was just curious. All right. Well, that'll wrap us up. I'll come back on camera for that. I'm just having a little bit of dental issues. That's why I was off camera most of the way. If everybody was wondering. Okay, so let us know in the comments anything, your opinions on anything that we talked about here tonight. I want to thank Ryan for coming in and joining us and bringing us his insights and his opinions on the team. So we'll definitely have you back. Hopefully we'll be making a bit of a playoff run, and we'll have a lot of good playoff stuff to talk about. And that's coming up soon, so we'll find out soon enough on that. All right, so we'll be back next week. We should be back next week. We were a little delayed in this episode, just getting our schedules together, and so that's why we filmed this on an off day. So till next time, go Habs, go! Let us know what you think, and we'll see you soon. So till then, stay safe out there. Peace out, and we will see you next week. Have a great week, and like I said, go Habs, go! Be back soon. Ciao, everybody.